Welcome back, everybody, to another Sniper Elite video on the channel. We are ranking every Sniper Elite 5 map in the campaign from worst to best, so let's get into it, and keep in mind that this video is based on my opinion and my experience from playing this campaign. Coming at number 9, we have Loose Ends. The last mission in this campaign is also the first to go on this list as being the worst mission for one reason and one reason only. This mission has you revisiting the residence of Abelard Muller, this game's big bad, to deliver the last bullet of the game into whatever part of his body you wish to insert it in. And while that's all well and good, what isn't good is that it's the entire mission. This level is over in less than 30 seconds, and it can also be several minutes long at best if you are going for the Can't Outrun a Bullet achievement, which is where you kill Abelard Muller from 600 meters away, which is why the map also looks like this. So it does wrap up our story, and there's a cool achievement tied to it, but we could have had this at the end of the 8th mission, or we could have had more to get through before we reached him. But it's really just the map size and lack of content that makes this mission the worst compared to the other 8. Coming in at number 8, we have Occupied Residence, or as I like to call it, Occupied Resistance, since I keep messing up the name. It is the second mission of the campaign, and also takes place at the same location as Loose Ends does. Just because I have it 8th doesn't mean it's a bad map. Unlike Loose Ends, it's a decent sized map, and it has more significance in the story. The map is aesthetically great. I like the environment, and the chateau is in the center of the map, so no matter what direction you're coming from, you can see it plain as day. And this mission is where you also come across the first information of the game that reveals Operation Kraken. And the mission even does a spoof of the secret room trope, where in Muller's office you figure out which switch is real to unlock the room. But that's where the story's importance really stops. This map also doesn't take that long to complete if you're just doing main objectives and not really going for side content. My average time to complete was around 20 minutes, just going in John Wick style, but it also has a lot of places to hide and pass through undetected, like the chateau sewers and the vines on the side of the building, to climb into a random window. All in all, this map is good for a quick playthrough if you're in a time crunch, but I never really find myself playing through it over and over and over again. So replayability isn't really its strong suit, but it's a good sized map with a clear destination, and you'll get through it pretty quickly. Coming in at number 7 is War Factory. This map tells you straight up what it is, and there's nothing really underneath the surface of it. It's titled War Factory, and that's exactly what it is. We end up in this mission to put a stop to the production lines that are producing materials for the Kraken project, and that's really it for the story. But what's cool about the map is that it is unique. It's the only map where you tour a factory site like this, and the map layout is actually pretty linear, but it's also pretty open in its design while being pretty linear and cramped at the same time. And that's okay, because like I said, it's a factory and it doesn't need to be anything more than what it is. And I believe this is also the only map where you kill soldiers using rat bombs, which are little explosives disguised as rats. This stands out because it's actually meant for one soldier in particular who is an informant for the French resistance. However, he's feeding bad intel, so you are encouraged to kill him in a humiliating way. Not to get too in depth with it, as it is just a side objective, but I think it stands out and is worth noting on this map. So yeah, overall this map would be higher on this list if it wasn't for the map that's next. Number 6, we have Liberation. Oh man. This mission is personally my least favorite on the list for one major reason, and that it's very disappointing. It's so disappointing to me. This mission happens to take place on D-Day, Normandy, the most important event, or one of the most important events of the Second World War. You open with a cinematic cutscene amping you up for it, and when the game was coming out, I think we all knew there was going to be a D-Day mission since this takes place in France. And this is that mission, and it's the most lackluster mission in this entire story. I don't know how a mission could have me do so much and make it seem like nothing is going on in the slightest. I'm not complaining about the AI patrol patterns. Those are pretty standard for a Sniper Elite game, and the mission assigns you with a lot of objectives, and the map is a pretty big size, so there's no problem there either. But the way this mission opens and the way you progress through is pretty boring. There's no urgency or sense of being a part of the biggest Allied invasion in history at the time, And yeah, I guess that's also pretty standard for Sniper Elite, but I can point to games way older than this one that did D-Day missions a lot better than this. This mission doesn't have you storming the beaches of Normandy, but it does have you take a lot of snipers out, and you have some vehicles in your way as well that you could take out, as well as a side objective that has you take out 4 AA guns, which I don't have a problem with either, but I don't really feel immersed in this mission. It also doesn't help that this is one of the images they use to advertise the game, so D-Day was a main selling point as well. The soldiers don't even use the AA guns that are supposed to be really uber important to take out. They did in Sniper Elite 3, which I started playing recently, so I don't really get why they couldn't do it here. Carl is dispatched with a US Ranger battalion, but they just hang back and let you do everything, which again is what Sniper Elite basically is. But in Sniper Elite 4, in the second mission, you're in an Italian town and you come across some partisans fighting the Germans as a distraction. I wouldn't even be mad if they just sprinkled some Rangers in here and there. I guess my expectations for this mission were just too high, and personally, I wanted to make it number 8, but it is a big map with a lot to complete. It's cool taking out the snipers and the tanks and concluding with liberating this little sliver of town that we're allowed to go into. But this map is just a major disappointment for me, and probably one of the worst D-Day missions I've played. If it wasn't for how much is in it, I would put it at number 8 instead of 6. Coming in at number 5 is a better map than Liberation, which is Secret Weapons. It's a cool map towards the end of the game, and you go there under the assumption that we can stop the Kraken project once we infiltrate the weapons labs. This map has really cool visuals, like a tank and a sniper practicing on targets in the mountains, and a V2 rocket being tested while suspended in midair. A cool side objective also where you get to sabotage a rocket launch, and there is more to this map than what's on the surface. It's a pretty large map with a lot of objectives and sites to see, like the dam near one of the exfil sites, or a ruined fort in the corner of the map you can go to. And it's revealed in this map that the Kraken project is already underway and is targeting the United States, which for the story is a pretty big development. This map is definitely a top 5 map on this list because it's just fun to play through and there's actual progression through the map, and I like all the visual tidbits that we get from this map. At the number 4 slot, we have Festung Geurnsey. This map really stood out to me when I first played it. It takes place on a small island, and I feel like it sort of captures the idea of what it's like being in actual 1944 France, with its wide open plains mixed with German bunker installations. And this combination makes for the ideal Sniper Elite level. It's one of those levels that gives you a feeling of being able to traverse more freely, like it's a sandbox, a wide open map with some vantage points sprinkled in. The story reason for why we are here is that the already made components from the War Factory mission are being delivered to Guernsey disguised as medical supplies. This mission is also the first one where we actually see the presence of Japanese naval officers in the game, and taking them out is an option, which I also found to be really cool that Imperial Japan is now involved in the series. Okay, we're coming in with the top 3 maps now. At number 3, we have Rubble and Ruin. It's at the number 3 spot due to it being an endgame mission. This is where we see the declaration by Mueller to attack America using his special stealth U-boats carrying V2 rockets and Auslan spies, which I don't know what order those are supposed to be used in, but either way, I doubt that would actually work against the United States. So yes, while suspension of disbelief is needed, it sets the stage for the final climax of the story. Wading through the ruins of this French town with the giant German facility standing high above the rest of the town, we eventually make our way in and destroy the fleet of V2 boats. The atmosphere of the ruined town really sets a dire tone, and it's really well detailed as far as the rubble goes, and it's a pretty decent sized map. So while maybe others would have it lower on this list, I feel due to it being the last mission with the setting and satisfying climax with blowing up the U-boats, that this map stands as a number 3 map. Number 2, Atlantic Wall. This is the first mission of the campaign, and I feel like it's a really good introductory mission that has us not only take out a radar station in multiple ways, but a gun battery that acts as a coastal defense that threatens anything in the water. Now, of course, that's a side objective, but I always go for that gun because I always thought that it was a main objective, but actually the main objective is gathering some intelligence from the French resistance, but that doesn't interest me as much as blowing up a giant gun. Not only that, but the map is wide open and there's a lot to explore in it, to where you get a healthy combination of a little bit of everything. From a small French village to bunkers to open fields to the radar station, this mission does a good job of laying out the experience for a first-time player, and once again, I like the look and feel of the map. While it does look similar to other maps, there's nothing really that you can do about that, but also its sandbox-like layout and freedom of movement makes up for that. And finally, at the number 1 spot, my personal favorite, we have Spy Academy. This map isn't super large, nor does it need to be, but it does give off the illusion that it is. The entire map is a castle, and this map is also the most unique and iconic looking in the entire story. This is the map that I find myself going back to the most. It's called Spy Academy because, you guessed it, it's where they are training Auslan spies for the Kraken project. But the story for why we are here is a textbook intel gathering / assassination mission of 3 high-ranking officers involved in the Kraken project. And I don't know about you guys, but I think this mission personifies the way Sniper Elite games work, and you have all the elements here. The first area of the map is set up in a way that encourages stealth, but of course is optional. And on that note, frankly, the entire map encourages stealth because this is probably the most fortified map in the entire game, where there's such a high concentration of troops in one specific map, whereas other maps they may be more spread out and you won't run into them all at once, whereas this map you kind of do run into a lot of them at once. Even if you sort of don't set the alarm off, you do get the attention pretty quickly if you're not careful. You also have a very imposing image of this castle that takes center stage, and you have to climb your way through and make it to the top to find the officers and listen in on their meeting. And then you have the back part of the level where you have to climb back down from the castle and either fight your way out or sneak your way to the exfil site. And it's this mission that I feel the most immersed in when playing the story mode in this game. And a funny little note also is the thumbnail of this castle can be seen on some of the loading screens in the game. You can see it in the background image of just like this shade of blue, which I think says a lot about what this map represents to this game. But you know that's why it's my favorite and why it's at this number 1 spot. So that is our list for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys thought of this list. If you guys agree with it or disagree with it, I'd be interested to see where you guys would put these maps in your own ranking. And as always, I thank you guys for watching, and I wish you well, and I hope you guys have a good day. So I'll talk to you later, guys. Bye.